Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kemi, and I'm here to talk about Beyond the Gates Season 2, Episode 94. Now, before we begin, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post. All right, so we start the episode off with Vanessa and Nicole. So they're still at her house, and Nicole is asking her if she thinks that Donnell really likes Joey or if he's just doing that to appease his mom. And Vanessa's adamant that they've built their own bond and they're growing their connection, and she hopes that Deanna will come around. Nicole asked, "Are do you want them to like him so much because you would like them to step in as a father figure to them one day?" And she says, "I would like that. I would like it if we could have Christmas cards and Christmas stuff or whatever, like do things as a family one day." But she's okay with how they are now. So Nicole asked her, "Well, how does Joey feel about it?" And she's just like, "Well, we haven't, how does Joey feel about it since he doesn't have kids?" And she says, "Well, we haven't discussed it." So Nicole says that, she understands, but it was easier since Ted is still in their lives. Um, yeah, because Ted is still in the lives with the kids or whatever. So it's easier for her to move on, for them to both move on because they still have their dad. But with Deanna and Donnell, it's not the same because Doug is gone. So Vanessa then changes the subject and she just wants to talk about Nicole's fantasies. And Nicole says they've passed. And she says, "Oh, Carlton really gave you that sexual healing or whatever." And then she says, Carlton may have a leg up on Kyle because, um, uh, yeah, she wants to know if Carlton has a leg up on Kyle or whatever. So as they're talking, Kyle texts Nicole and she's just like, "Oh, he says he's in the neighborhood and he wants to stop by." So she tells him, "Cool, you can come through." Um, Vanessa asked her if Kyle is the one she wants. Um, she asked if Kyle is the one she wants when Carlton is taking good care of her. Nicole says she isn't saying Kyle is who she's picking, but Loki, her actions are showing us that, but okay. But they both bring something to the table. So we see Kyle, he comes over, and Vanessa leaves so they can have one-on-one time. So they talk about his boys, and she tells him about her fantasies about Ted or whatever, but she tells him that she only had that fantasy when she was with Carlton or whatever. He likes that they can talk to each other and they're open with each other. So he gives her some advice. They're happy with how open they are with each other or whatever. So then they get their work out so that they start working on they like being with each other. So they pull out their laptop so that they can go through patient notes or whatever, and then they're cuddled up together on the couch. So we see Donnell. He's still at the casino, and he's still on Joey's neck. He wants to know if he had anything to do with Doug. Joey says um, Joey says what he's always been saying. You saw the video, you saw this. Um, Donnell says Donnell says he's not buying it. All of that could be altered. They got AI and all this other good stuff. And then he says that Deanna is good at reading people. So maybe she is right about him. Joey says, her pain is coloring her judgment. Donnell is just like, maybe not. And, she did take Doug's passing hard. Um, and then he tells him, you should see what social media says about him. And Joey says some slick stuff, and I was just like, I caught that shade, BTG. I caught that shade that you were saying about us on social media, talking about y'all. But it's cool. I'm gonna let y'all slide. And so um, Joey tells him what he's doing and why he tells him how he got how he came up in the business or whatever. He tells him about his dad or whatever. And he doesn't get caught or something like that. Donnell tells him exactly what he did. So like basically how he, lured Doug there and then just so happened to be out of town so that he could have an alibi. Basically exactly what Joey did. And Joey gaslights him. And he tells him he was far away when it happened. Donnell says, that was very convenient or whatever. Joey tries to play it off. But Donnell has more questions and he wants to know, um, uh, oh yeah, Donnell has more questions and he wants to know why he didn't cut, like, why didn't they cut Doug off when he was getting to that place or whatever. Um, let's see. Joey says he has a business to run at the end of the day, and Doug's passing doesn't keep him awake at night. Um, but he's glad to be there for Vanessa. Donnell does give him his props for answering his questions, which low key he really didn't, because you asked him point blank, "Did you have anything to do with my dad?" And he went all around the mulberry bush and still didn't answer that question. But okay. So Joey wants to know if they're good, and he tells him, "Thanks for answering my questions, and we gonna leave it there." And so he leaves. So we see Vanessa show up, and Vanessa show up, and she realizes that Donnell was there. That's why he left her to come to see Joey or whatever. And then they talk about what they talked about. Vanessa apologizes to him, but he understands. They talk about being partners and being there for each other. And Vanessa's optimistic that her kids will grow to love Joey eventually. So we see not Donna, we see Deanna. She sees Doug and she wonders if it's real. He tells her, the only way you'll find out is if you come and give you a hug. So she gives him a hug and she cries about how much she's missed him. And he says the same. Deanna wants to know how he's real. And he tells her she needed him. And that's why he's there. They talk about Joey and Vanessa and how he drove him to his passing, and that he and Vanessa were a thing prior to him passing. He tells her she needs to get Vanessa away from Joey. Um, Deanna's pissed at Vanessa, and he tells her it's not Vanessa's fault. Joey took advantage of her. Doug tells Deanna he came to her since she can see through Joey and he's worried about them. She tells him she's trying to be okay, and he tells her she is perfect and she needs to get she needs to get her family away from Joey before it's too late. Deanna says that's Vanessa's problem. She don't care about that. She's acting like she wasn't even married. So if he breaks her heart, that's on her. He tells her that Vanessa loves her and deserves grace, and she needs to make sure that the family is safe. A waiter walks by, and Deanna jumps in front of Doug to hide him. And then when she turns around, he's gone. So we see Donnell meets Vanessa, not Vanessa. He meets Deanna at the club, and she almost tells him that she saw Doug or whatever. But Donnell looks pissed, so she makes up an excuse about running into an old tennis coach or something like that. And he tells her that she needs to take those back up so she can get rid of her aggression. She wants to know what's wrong with him, and he tells her he was just at Joey's returning the cufflinks, and then they talk, and he questioned him about what's going on because he let Deanna get in his head or whatever. And he tells her how the convo went, and that he's going to leave it alone. Donnell tells her to get over it. He says, we may be twins, but we don't share a brain. Um, Doug isn't coming back, and he spent more time with Joey, and he isn't that bad. He tells her they aren't even going to see Doug again. And she makes a remark like, speak for yourself. And he's just like, what'd you say? And she was just like, nothing. And then she tells him nothing, and they can say they will make her see Joey like they can't make her see Joey like they do. And he says fine, he's going back to campus or whatever. So the episode ends with Deanna going back into the hallway where she had seen Doug crying, saying, Daddy, come back, I need you, I need you. So that's how the episode ends. But we're gonna continue on. So we see Leslie and Eva, they're eating at the club, and Leslie's complaining about Leah and what she did and how she wasn't even a good crook. Eva tells her not to lose sight of what really matters, and she brushes past Derek's passing, talking about I'll send Ashley some roses. Leslie is more worried about the clinic and finding a new manager. She's pissed that she has to find a new manager. Eva is focused on her phone and what people are saying, reading all the posts about what people are saying about Derek and that he was really loved. Leslie is not moved by it. Then she guilt trips her into agreeing to be the manager being the manager at the clinic temporarily until they find someone new. But Eva's just like, I have to get permission from dad if I can do both or whatever. So she was just like, okay, cool. So we see Ted and Kat. They are at the diner and they're talking about, I'm sorry, they're at Orphe Jeans. They're talking about the cotillion and how fun it was. And Kat asked him about, him and Nicole not bringing dates and making eyes at each other. He tells her not to read too much into it. Ted tells her that he came alone because, him and, Ted says that Nicole probably came along because she couldn't decide who to bring. He says he wanted to keep the spotlight on Samantha. That's why he didn't bring Shanice, but she probably wouldn't have came with him anyway because they're fighting. And then he tells her what it's about. Um, he tells her what it's about and how he had, it's about Leslie. And Kat wants to know um, what'd she say? Oh, she wants to know what's up with him and Leslie. Why he's always like, it's always something with him and Leslie. So he tells her, what happened with Anita reading her down, and Kat was just like, and you ain't get it on video. I was just like, Kat is a mess, but I was with her. So Ted says that she was actually really hurt, so he was comforting her, and then Shanice walked in and she didn't like it. Kat tells him one kind gesture to Leslie, and she will take it overboard, which she does. Eva then walks in, and Kat makes a dig about her, saying, "Oh, speak of the devil, and the spawn will appear." Something like that, or whatever. She wants to talk to Ted about work, but it's not urgent, and it won't take up most of his time. He asks Kat if she minds, and she's just like, "Sure," since clearly it couldn't wait until business hours or whatever. So she gets up to leave. She tells him, we'll catch up on cotillion prep later. Eva congratulates her on Samantha winning cotillion prep, and she was just like, she told me she won, and it was all thanks to you or whatever. Then Kat compliments her on Eva's hair. I mean on Samantha's hair or whatever. So Kat leaves. So then Eva tells Ted what's going on with Leslie in the clinic and how if she could do part time at his job and part time at the clinic until they get a new manager. And she says she won't mess anything up. She's gonna be diligent about it. And he says okay. So we see before we get there, because we see I do apologize. All right, so we see Bill and Tomas. They are at the office, and Tomas is giving him an update on the whole Lynette thing about how he found out some information on her at the how she was supposed to be moving into this penthouse, and she was inviting the hotel person, and he slips and lets it be known that Kat is the one that got the information for him. And Bill is just like, pissed about it because he's just like, I already told you before, I don't want Kat involved in this. And at this point, since Keegan, I think that's his name, their PI guy, since he hasn't gotten any information, he just wants to drop the whole thing or whatever. Um, so he wants to drop the whole thing or whatever. So Kat meets Tomas at the country club. He tells her about him getting chewed out by Bill about the whole thing, and um, yeah, he getting chewed out, and she still wants to dig into it. He tells her she's not listening. He explains what Bill told him, and he's closing the file too. Kat still says she still hasn't talked to Jacob to see if she can get some more information because she can find out. And he's just like, man, no, I don't want to know. You can do whatever you're gonna do, but keep me out of it or whatever. So Bill is in his office. Sorry, we see we'll go here. We see Haley. She is meeting Randy at Uptown, and she wants to make sure he didn't say anything to the cops about Lynette. And Randy is just like, oh, I'm glad that you were worried about me or whatever. So, he tells her about, the cops, the reason why he was with the cops, and she was just like, oh dang, you part of that? And he was just like, no, not part of it, X, Y, and Z. She makes it about herself, and why she needs him to be free or whatever, and she needs him more than ever. Randy complains that she don't care about him, and it's all about her. She tells him that she's increased the dosage because Bill is too big. He tells her it's a slow acting agent, and she needs to calm down and stay the course, but she wants it to happen faster, because she wants to be on the beach like yesterday. So we see Bill, he's in his office, and his hands are shaking. He's, noticing that his hands are shaking or whatever. Haley comes in, and he tells her what's going on, and she wants to give him water. So she gives him water, and then she's just like, maybe you need to settle yourself with a drink. So she gets him a scotch or whatever the drink that he'd be drinking, and she puts some more of that stuff in it or whatever. So we see Leslie, she runs into Randy at Orphe Jean, not Orphe Jeans, at Uptowns, and she wants to know why Joey is ignoring her calls and that he's blaming her for what's going on, and she wants to know what he's heard. He ain't trying to tell her nothing. She wants them to team up so that they can, be on good terms or whatever, and he's just like, yeah, I'm good on that. So again, the episode ended with Deanna looking, calling out to Doug or whatever. But this was a cute little episode. It was mid. It wasn't much. We coming off the heels of the cotillion and the plasma ring going belly up, but not really. So we're about to get into a new in the because again I'm up to date in real time. I'm catching up on YouTube time. So we're about to go into a new storyline, which is a fundraiser, and all that's going to happen after that. But yeah, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post. Get down in the comments, tell me what you guys thought about this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one.